everyone, welcome to Drishti IS. As you all know, your UGC NET exam is about approaching, and I believe all of you, would be preparing very hard, right? And you must have worked very hard, and uh, I believe that your expectations are going to be met very soon, right? You all will get uh, some good fruitful results, right? And in order to help you with your preparation, I have come here to discuss a few previous year questions with you so that you can evaluate your preparation, right? You can evaluate your preparation, you can analyze your preparation, that do I need to revise a particular topic? Am I able to solve all the questions? Am I able to solve a question from a particular concept? So this session is going to help you in this analysis and is going to improve your preparation, because the weak points are going to get clear, the the strong points are also going to get clear. Because if I'm reading the data again and again, the data which is already strong, the concepts which are already strong, if I'm reading those concepts again and again, sir, is it going to help me in the exam? I don't believe that. Is it going to help me in the exam? I don't believe that, right? What I believe is that I should focus that if only a small portion of my concept is weak, I should revise that concept first, so that by the day of my exam, that concept is absolutely clear. All right. So now let's see, as your exam is about approaching, I told you. So I brought you this session, the last lap, right? So I will be in this particular session. I will be dealing with your mathematical reasoning portion, right? So let's see a few questions from your mathematical reasoning part, and in continuation to that, we'll see that how we should have approached those questions. So this is the first question that I have for you on the screen. It is a question on number series. You can see what number comes next in the sequence. There is a sequence given to us: 6, 4, 2.5, 1.5, and now we have to find the next term. So when I was taking the session of number series, I told you that number series is of 6 types, right? The number series can be of arithmetic nature. The series can be of geometric nature, can be of arithmetic geometric nature, can be of mixed nature, can be of self-generated nature, or can be of prime number. Now, as I can see it over here, right, this series is not a prime number series, right? That I can discard just by seeing it. Now, let's see. Plus, I can also see that here 2.5 and 1.5 are not multiples of each other. These two are not multiples of each other, so it will not be a geometric series. 6 and 4 are multiple of each other. 4 and 2.5 are also not multiple of each other, so this will not be a geometric series, because in geometric we have multiplication factor. Now let's see whether my series, so 2 are discarded. This is not a self-generated series, because in self-generated series the series is of perfect cube or perfect square nature, and this series is neither, right? It is not a perfect square, it is not a perfect cube, so this also cannot be the part. So I have discarded 3 out of 6. Now only 3 remains. So now I'll check the concept of my remaining 3 series: arithmetic, arithmetical, geometrical, and mixed. Now if this series would have been of arithmetic nature, then there, as I can see, from moving from left to right, my series is decreasing. As I can see, my series is decreasing. That means there should be subtraction factor involved, right? As I told you, try to frame a logic between the factors. Always try to frame the logic between the factors, because once you frame the logic between the factors, the next factor will be much more clear to you. What should be the next factor? So here, if I see that the series is decreasing from left to right, right? So if I see this series from 6 to 4, right, the subtraction factor is 2. The subtraction factor is 2. From 4 to 2.5, the subtraction factor is 1.5. right? The subtraction factor is 1.5, and from 2.5 to 1.5 the subtraction factor is 1. Now you can see that my first subtraction factor was 2, then the subtraction factor became 1.5, and then the subtraction factor became 1. So now subtraction factor is decreasing with 0.5 every time. Subtraction factor is decreasing with 0.5 every time. So now my next subtraction factor should be 0.5. If I decrease my subtraction factor again with 0.5, it should be 0.5. 1 minus 0.5 will give me 0.5. So now my next term should be 1. 1.5 minus 0.5 would give me 1. So option C would be the answer. And I came up with the answer also. So I'm not explaining here. I have explained it on the previous slide. Right. This would be your correct answer. All right. Let's see. I'll give you some time to solve. This would be a better approach. I'll give you some time to solve. Then I'll show you the option, and then I'll explain. All right. I'll show you the correct answer and then I'll explain. All right. So from the next question, we are going to do that. So now let's move on to the next question. This is my next question. In the following letter series, what would be the next term? You see that there is a letter series given, and when I was taking letter series concept, I told you that there is a fixed format for you, right, to solve this question. In order to solve this question, you have to write your ABCD, and there is a fixed format of writing ABCD, and I guess you already know that. You are going to write the first 13 letters from left to right, and the next 13 letters you are going to write right to left, starting below from M. Now solve this question. Let's see what would be the next term. I guess by now you must have solved it. So let me show you the correct answer. The correct answer was option A. Let's see, right, that if you were wrong, where exactly you went wrong. Let's talk about that. So now, in order to find the next term, if I see the first letter, that is B, to the next term's first letter, which is E, the gap between B and E, since I am moving from the in my ABCD, I am moving from B to E. That means I am moving in clockwise order. So when I move in clockwise order from one letter to the other letter, the gap between the letters is positive. And here the gap is 1, 2, 3 of 3 letters. So I'll say from first letter to first letter, the first gap is +3. Then from first letter of second term to first letter of third term, that means I'm moving from E to H, and in my ABCD I'm moving in clockwise order. When I move from E to H in my ABCD, I'm moving in clockwise order, in alphabetical order. So the gap would be positive, and here the gap is of 1, 2, 3 letters. As I told you in the class itself, that it is my normal practice that I always count the second letter in my gap. It is my normal practice that I always count second letter in my gap, right? So now it is a gap of +3. Fine, sir. So you can see that from first letter to the first letter, the gap is +3. So from H at a +3 gap, right, it would be 1, 2, 3, K. That means my first letter should be K. There are two options which start with K, right? So now let's find the gap for the second letter. We are going to use the option elimination approach, because nobody will give me an award if I find the third letter also. If I find the gap of the logic of third letter also, nobody will give me an award. But right, if I get the answer through option elimination, I'll use that, right? I'll save my time. That is the best strategy in the exam. So when I see this from second letter to second letter, see, from D to G, right, since I'm moving in clockwise order from D to G in my ABCD, the gap is 1, 2, 3. I always count second letter in my gap, so it is also +3. From G to J, see, the gap is again 1, 2, 3 +3, because we are moving in clockwise order. So now from H at a +3 gap, from J at a +3 gap, it would be 1, 2, 3 M. So KM, right? Only one option has the first two letters as KM, and that would be my answer. Now there is no need for you to find the logic of the third letter, right? It will not solve anything. right? Because you already got the answer. But if you want to learn, just find the gap, right? You're still at a learning phase, so you can find the gap. That's absolutely okay. Now, this is a question on number series, right? So try this question. Series is given to you. You have to find the next term. All right, I guess by now you must have solved this. So this was the correct answer. Option B was the correct answer. Right, now let's see. How should I have approached this question? As I see this series, right, there are no prime numbers involved, so this is not a prime number series, right? Uh, 12 and 28 are not multiples of each other, so this is not geometric series, right? None of the numbers are perfect cube or perfect square nature, so this is not self-generated, and nobody is perfect square plus n or perfect cube plus n, perfect square minus n, or perfect cube minus n nature. So it is not that also, right? It is not that also. So this series is not self-generated nature. Now we are left out with only arithmetic, geometric, and mixed. Now let's see. Let's see. On moving from left to right, I can see that my numbers are getting increased. My numbers are getting, the series is increasing order, is of increasing order. If series is of increasing order and the series would have been of arithmetic nature, then sir, there would be addition factor involved. There would be an addition factor involved. So if I find the addition factor between these two terms, right, from 4 to 12, the addition factor would be 8. Addition factor or subtraction factor is nothing but the difference between two consecutive terms, right? Addition or subtraction factor is nothing but the difference between two consecutive terms. So difference between 12 and 4 is of 8. But here, moving from left to right, the series is getting increased. So it would be plus 8. The factor would be plus 8. From 12 to 18, from 12 to 28, addition factor would be 16, double of 8, or I can say the addition factor increased with it. On 8, I have increased the next factor with 8, or I would have taken double of 8. And from 28 to 52, the addition factor is 24. So now I can see that here the addition factor was 8, 16, then 24. So from first addition factor to second addition factor, the increment was of plus 8. From second addition factor to third addition factor, the increment was of plus 8. So every time my next factor is getting increased with 8. Every time my next factor is getting increased with 8. So increasing 24 with 8, my next factor should become 32. Right. So on adding 32 to 52, my answer would be 84. My answer would be 84. I guess I have shown you the answer. It was B option, right? It would be 80. Right. Let's move to the next question. Now this is a question based on coding decoding, and you already know that in order to solve the questions of coding decoding, you need to write ABCD, and there is a fixed format for writing ABCD. I told you in letter series. The format that we followed in letter series is similar here also, right? So solve this question. Till then, I'm going to write the ABCD. Going to wait for a few seconds. All right, use your option elimination, sir. That would be the best approach. Let me show you the answer. Here, the answer was option B, right? Option B was correct. As I told you in the class, when a word is given and its respective code is given, and my examiner is asking me the code of the second word, that this would be a question of type 1, right? This would be a question of type 1. So in order to solve the question of type 1, I gave you this strategy that write the code of the word, always write the code of the word just below the letters of the word. So the code for England, in a certain code, England is written as ULS NYLV. So write the letters of this code just below the letters of my word England. So as I write this ULS NYLV. Now I can see that in my word England there are 7 letters, in my code there are 7 letters. That means each letter is given one letter code only. That means each letter is given one letter code only. Now I have to find that letter. So now when I see this, let's say for E its code was U. For E its code was U, right? So now if you see E and U, what logic you can create? Instead of that E and U, I'll go with diagonal order, because diagonally I can relate them more easily. But E and V and D and W, for D it should have been W, but it is U. All right, fine. So I'll keep like this. Let's say for E my code was U, right? I have shown you the answer, because I'm not sure whether I have shown you the answer. All right, if it is Q, then let me write the word first, otherwise I'll get confused. Al, right? Al. All right. So now if I want to relate something with E and U, I can see that the letter opposite to E is V, and a letter back to V would be U. So I will say that in order to write the code of E, first I found the opposite letter of E, which was V, and then moving one letter backward from V would give me the code of E, that is U. So this is at a -1 gap, because now from I'm moving from V to U. I'm moving in anti-clockwise order, reverse alphabetical order. So it was one letter, right? For E, the code was one letter backward to its opposite letter, right? So that would be the case. For N, its opposite letter would be M, and one letter backward to M would be L. So for N, the code is L. For G, the code is S. Let's see, the opposite letter to G would be T, and from T, one letter backward, it is S. So the code is actually one letter backward to the opposite letter. For L, the opposite letter is O, and one letter backward is N. For A, the opposite letter is Z, and one letter backward is Y. This is nice logic. For N, opposite letter is M, and one letter backward is L. For D, opposite letter is W, one letter backward is V, right? So now in order to write the code of any letter, you have to find its opposite letter, and then one letter backward from that opposite letter. So for I, the opposite letter is R, and one letter backward would be Q. For R, the opposite letter is I, and one letter backward would be H. Now QH, right? Only one option starts with Q and H, and that would be my answer. Right? Here my logic was difficult, so examiner made the easy option. Next, you can find for every other letter also. For E, its opposite letter would be V, one letter backward would be U. For L, opposite letter is O, one letter backward would be N. For A, opposite letter is Z, one letter backward to Z would be Y. For N, the opposite letter is M, one letter backward is L. For D, opposite letter is W, one letter backward would be. All right. See, it completely matches with your answer. All right. Let's move on to the next question. Again, we have a number series, but here the term is missing somewhat in between. 2, 4, 6. Try this. This is quite a long series, so I need space. So now this might be a difficult question for you, right? The correct answer was option C. Correct answer was option C, right? So now let's see how my series is behaving, right? In this particular sequence, as I can see, 2, 4, 6, 12, 10, 36, 14, question mark, 18, 3, 24, right? So now between 2 and 6, between 2 and 6, if I will establish, because this is behaving in mixed order, as I told you, in mixed order, the factors behave alternatively. So from 2 to 6, if I will create a logic, no, instead of 2 to 6, I'll create this logic. See, from 2 to 6, the gap is plus 4, 6 to 10, the gap is plus 4, 10 to 14, the gap is plus 4, 14 to 18, the gap is plus 4, right? The factor is behaving on alternate terms. That's what I told you in mixed series, right? And now here on the remaining alternate terms from 4 to 12, it is 4 into 3, 12, 12 into 3, 36. So 36 into 3 would be 108 and 108 into 3 would be 324. So my answer would be 108 and that was my answer. So this particular series was of mixed nature, right? Where the factors were behaving alternatively, and this concept, you have learned this concept with me in the class, right? Every question is a previous year question. All right. Now let's take the question of blood relation, right? You have learned the concept of blood relation with me, right? You have seen your generation chart and everything, so please see to that, right? You know that we have divided all the relatives into 5 generations. Solve this question. Right, I guess you would have solved this question by now because this is not a very lengthy question. Correct answer was option C. Right, let's see whether we can reach to that answer or not. Correct answer was option C. Apurva is son of Madhu. Sir, Apurva is son of Madhu. So if Apurva is son of Madhu, sir, Madhu is going to be parent of Apurva, but Apurva, right? Then Vinod is brother of Madhu's husband. Vinod is brother of Madhu's husband. So Madhu has a husband. Let's call him Dash. And Vinod is brother of that person, that Dash. Right? Let's name him X because we do not have his husband's name. So Madhu's husband is X and Vinod is brother of X. Gender of Vinod is male. How is Apurva related to Vinod? See, Apurva related to Vinod, right? Would be nephew, because for Vinod, Apurva would be his brother's son. Apurva would be his brother's son, right? And by the option, right, it would be nephew, because brother's son is called nephew. As I told you, who is your brother's son? Nephew, right? What do you call your sister's son? Nephew, right? Brother and sister's son are going to be called as nephews. All right, fine. Now this is again on your letter series, a question on your letter series. Find the next term, right? Till you find the answer, till then I'm going to write your ABC. All right, I guess by now you must have solved it. The correct answer was this. Please say it. And now let's see You were lagging somewhere. Where exactly was it? See, as I can see, the first letter is in every term, the first letter is vowel A, E, I, O. Then for next term, the first letter should be the next vowel U. But all my options starts with U. So there was no point of finding out the logic of my first letter. Now let's find the logic of your second letter. See, from T to Q, if I see the gap, if I move from T to Q in my ABCD, I'm moving in anti-clockwise order, right? And the gap between the letters is 1, 2, 3. Since the gap is of 3 letters and I have moved in anti-clockwise order, here the gap would be -3. The gap would be -3, right? Then from Q to N, if I'm moving from Q to N, I'm again moving in anti-clockwise order. And sir, the gap is 1, 2, 3, -3, right? Then from N to K, sir, I'm moving in anti-clockwise order 1, 2, 3. The gap is -3, right? The gap is -3. And from K to at a -3 gap, it would be 1, 2, 3 H. So UH would be my answer. UH would be my answer, and the answer was option A only. Right here, the first letter was a vowel, and the second letter was at a gap of minus. Sir, again a question on blood relation. A is father of B and C is sister of A. D is grandson of C. Sir, this is not small c, this is capital C. Right? Sometimes these things do happen. Don't worry about that. Right? Don't think that this C and this C are different. Both are same. I guess by now you must have solved the question. Right? The correct answer was option B. Now let's see the solution. A is father of B and C is sister of A. Sir, A is father of B. If A is father of B, sir, gender of A would be male. And A is father of B, that means B is going to be the child of A. So B will be one generation below A. Because A is the father, so B would be the child, but the gender of B is not specified. That means I cannot say for sure whether B right now, just by reading till this line, I cannot say for sure whether B is going to be the boy of A or the girl of A. Right? And C is sister of A. C is sister of A. See, me and my sister are going to be born in the same generation. So if C is sister of A, C and A are going to be on the same generation. Right? C and A are going to be on the same generation. And gender of C is going to be female. Gender of C is going to be female. Right? Then D is grandson of C. D is grandson of C. If D is grandson of C, then D should be 2 generations below to C. D should be 2 generations below to C. So this is one generation below to C and now 2 generations below to C. So this would be D. And since D is the grandson, gender of D would be male. Gender of D would be male. How is D related to B? See, how is D related to B? Here, the child of C is going to be cousin of B, because B's father and this dash's mother are siblings. B's father, who is A, and dash's mother, who is C, they both are A and C are siblings, right? And child of what should I say? Uh, Child of someone who is a sibling of my parent, child of someone who is a sibling of my parent is going to be my cousin. That child is going to be my cousin, right? So B and this dash are going to be cousins, and son of a cousin is also nephew. Son of a cousin is also, because this dash is either going to be the brother or sister of B, right? Brother or sister of B, because cousin, I'm saying cousin, in cousin you have brother, right, or sister. right? He is my cousin or she is my cousin. So this dash is going to be he or she cousin. If he's a he cousin, then also nephew. If he's a she cousin, then also nephew. So my answer should be nephew, right? And that was the answer B. So here also the answer was nephew, right? So in this session, sir, I have discussed with you some previous year questions based on your mathematical reasoning, right? The questions were from coding, decoding, right? Number series, letter series, and blood relations, right? So all the questions were previous year. Please take a look again so that you can see that earlier while watching this session for the first time. If you had some difficulty in solving these questions, see for it yourself that next time when you solve these questions, right, can you solve them, right, in less amount of time or not, right? So as if for today's session, I'm going to keep it till here. In the next session, I'm going to discuss some more previous year questions with you. So thank you so much for watching this session. Keep learning, keep smiling.